Okay, good morning, everyone. Sawadee Kap. Sawadee Kap. Nice to see you guys. Today's class, we're going to be learning loving kindness meditation to start out. I'm going to teach it to you first, and then we're going to do it together as a group. Those of you guys here at the temple and those of you guys joining us online will be learning loving kindness and then actually practicing loving kindness meditation. And then we're going to take a break after that. And then I'm going to share with you identifying your cravings, analysis of the mind. And then, of course, we'll have lunch. And then when we come back, I'm going to be sharing cultivating healthy mental states, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. These are called the Brahma Viharas. You would need these in order to train the mind to cultivate these healthy mental states. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to all of you guys. Let me jump into helping you guys to understand the teachings of how to do loving kindness meditation. As I share with you how to do loving kindness meditation, let's first kind of revisit the breathing mindfulness meditation, because people have learned that with me at different times, and it's important to understand that because we're going to be using breathing mindfulness meditation to ease into the loving kindness. With breathing mindfulness meditation, you're eliminating craving, desire, attachment. This is that unwholesome quality where the mind's longing and yearning, chasing after things, wanting certain objects of your affection. That's the cause of all the discontent feelings. So with the path to enlightenment, all about eliminating your discontent feelings, you would need to eliminate craving, desire, attachment in order to eliminate discontentedness and get to enlightenment. So by restraining the mind, whenever the mind moves off the breath and pulling it back to the breath, it's helping you to eliminate the craving, desire, attachment in the mind. And then you're cultivating this mindfulness or awareness of mind, training the mind to be aware of those bodily sensations, the feelings, the condition of the mind, and the mental objects, those four foundations of mindfulness. And also practicing singleness of mind, where you can focus on a single object. So during meditation, we're focusing on the breath, but then in daily life, when you're going about your day-to-day activities, you would like to focus on just one thing. So if you're eating, you're eating. If you're driving, you're driving. If you're talking on the phone, you're just talking on the phone. You just do one thing at a time, rather than have your mind rapidly cycle from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. So we're going to build on that and kind of do that for about 5 minutes as part of our meditation session. But then we're going to move into loving kindness meditation, which is designed to eliminate anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, agitation, irritation, annoyance, even dislike. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't even have the slightest dislike towards other beings. You'll just have love and kindness towards all beings. And what this meditation is doing is working to eliminate the anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions, but then cultivate this loving kindness for all beings. There's these other two types of meditations that are used on a as-needed basis that I teach in other programs and other courses. But let's talk about what loving kindness is so that you understand what it actually is. What it is active goodwill towards all beings without judgment, where you have this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, where you eliminate your bitterness, your hostility, your animosity, all of that is eliminated from the mind, but instead you're practicing just the opposite of those things, which is having a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill. This is the antidote or the wholesome root or remedy for anger, hatred, ill will. This is what's going to transform your mind and get that fetter or that mental object, that taint, the pollution, the defilement of anger out of the mind, is practicing loving kindness through meditation, but then practicing it through your day-to-day activities, through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. This is going to eliminate all that harshness, bitterness, hostility, and resentment from the mind. Loving kindness is one of the Brahma Viharas. This is a way that we refer to the four healthy mental states of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. We're going to be studying those this afternoon after lunch. So this is one of the Brahma Viharas. So I've shared before how the Eightfold Path is the core central teaching of the Buddha, and then he has other teachings that plug into it. It's important for you to understand where loving kindness plugs into the Eightfold Path, because that's the core central teaching, and everything else is plugging into this. So you can see when you learn right intention as part of the Eightfold Path that the Buddha's words are cultivating the intention of renunciation, the intention of non-ill will in the intention of harmlessness. This is what he refers to as right intention. This is the second step of the Eightfold Path. Well, this non-ill will, this is a double negative. And in English, when you have a double negative, it's a positive. So non-ill will is the same thing as saying goodwill, right? So this is active goodwill. He's teaching you to cultivate the intention of goodwill. And that is going to be one of the bases that then helps you to practice things like right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And then in the 5 factors of well-spoken speech, if you remember those, when I shared those, there's a 5th factor, which is spoken with a mind of loving kindness. But how could you do that if you didn't have a tool or a technique to cultivate loving kindness in the mind? So the Buddha is providing guidance to do loving kindness meditation as a way to cultivate this loving kindness so that then your speech can emanate from that loving kindness. Here, the Buddha is sharing some teaching here with his students, where prior to this teaching, just before this, he was teaching his students about the 5 factors of well-spoken speech. He was teaching them to speak at the right time, what they say is true, speak gentle, speak beneficially, and speak with a mind of loving kindness. But then he was reminding his students that other people may speak to you in an untimely way. They might speak to you with falsehoods. They might speak to you with harsh speech. They might speak with unbeneficial speech, or they might speak with a mind of inner hate. And when these people speak to you in this way, this is what the Buddha says. He says, "Herein, monks, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall reside compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall reside enveloping that person with a mind filled with loving kindness, and starting with him, we shall reside enveloping the all-encompassing world with a mind filled with loving kindness, abundant, joyful, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. This is how you should train monks." So what he's teaching is to reside unaffected by these harsh words that people are saying to you. If you allow your mind to be shaken up each time somebody says something harsh, or they say something that is a lie, or they say something that's unbeneficial, or anything like this, any of those 5 factors of well-spoken speech that you might be working to practice, other people may not be doing that. So as you encounter people who are speaking in unwise ways, the Buddha is teaching you to have loving kindness for that being. Have a genuine interest in seeing them be well. Have compassion for them, which is the concern for their misfortune. This is what's going to help you to eradicate any hatred towards them based on their speech, so that you're not creating conditioned feelings based on how other people speak. That if someone speaks to you polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, you might get happy or excited or elated. But then when somebody speaks to you impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful, you're going to experience the anger, the hatred. So rather than form a conditioned feeling based on how somebody's choosing to speak with you, the Buddha's guiding you to have this compassion or this loving kindness, this concern for the misfortune of others, and the genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, being unaffected by other people's words. Here's some teachings from the Buddha on loving kindness meditation. This first one, he's actually teaching his son. A lot of times people think that he left from his family and he never came back. But in reality, he actually did come back after 6 years after he got to enlightenment. He came back to that area, and his wife ends up ordaining with him, his son, his stepmother, which was his aunt, all these people, so many people that his father was begging and pleading with him to stop ordaining people in the royal family. And these people were all getting to enlightenment. So here he's teaching his son. He says, "Rahula, develop meditation on loving kindness. For when you develop meditation on loving kindness, any ill will be abandoned." This is how a Buddha speaks. Very clear, very concise, very precise. You don't have to interpret his words. You don't have to figure out what he was trying to say, what he was trying to communicate. He says it very clearly that loving kindness, meditating on loving kindness, is what's going to eliminate your ill will, your anger, your hatred, your ill will. That's why you're practicing loving kindness. So in terms of this course of harmony in relationships, this is detrimental to your development on the path to enlightenment, but also it's very crucial for you to be able to develop harmony in your relationships. If you walk around with anger, hatred, and ill will in your mind, and any of those lesser versions, it's going to be very hard for you to have harmonious relationships with others. So this loving kindness meditation is what's going to help you develop harmonious relationships, because you won't have this ill will and this anger in the mind. Here's another where he talks about in another place. He says, loving kindness should be developed to abandon ill will. Again, very clear, very straightforward, very much to the point. You don't have to interpret that. And then here, the Buddha is sharing another teaching. It's important to understand the context here, that the Buddha, when he was teaching during his life, he was one of many teachers who were teaching in his region of the world. There were various teachers that were claiming that it was their teachings that led to enlightenment. But the Buddha knew that it was his teachings that led to enlightenment. So he continued to teach, and other people were still teaching too. And those people's teachings that were teaching that didn't lead to enlightenment, oftentimes their students would interact with the students of the Buddha, sit down and eat together. They would kind of walk through the neighborhood. People would donate food to them, and then they would all sit together, the Buddhist students and then students from other communities. And here the Buddha is essentially saying to his students, when you sit down with these other people, suppose they should ask, but what, friends, is the reason unarisen anger does not arise, and arisen anger is abandoned? You should answer, the liberation of mind, the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. For one who attends carefully to the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, unarisen anger does not arise, and arisen anger is abandoned. This, friends, is the reason unarisen anger does not arise, and arisen anger is abandoned. What he's talking about here is, in the unenlightened mind, you have a fetter or a taint or a pollution or this defilement, this mental object of ill will. Like right now, you don't feel any anger. You're just sitting here listening to me talk. There's no anger whatsoever. But it's only a matter of time before you do something in the world, you experience something in the world, and one of your cravings get triggered, and now your anger arises. You have ill will in the mind. It just hasn't arisen right now at this particular moment. Ultimately, as you make your way to enlightenment, you purify the mind of that ill will, and it's impossible for you to ever get angry ever again. But what the Buddha is saying is, what is the reason why this unarisen anger that's in your mind, what's the reason why it doesn't arise? And any anger that has arisen in your mind, how do you get rid of it? How do you abandon it? He shares loving kindness meditation, right? It's loving kindness that is the exact opposite of this anger, hatred, ill will. So anytime you have anger rising up in your mind, you can abandon that by doing loving kindness meditation and by practicing loving kindness. And if you're looking to get rid of this anger 100% and uproot it out of the mind, it's loving kindness meditation and practicing loving kindness in daily life that's going to help you to be able to accomplish that goal. So the way that we do loving kindness meditation is just like all the other meditations. I start with chanting to ease us into the meditation, and then I do about 5 minutes worth, 10 minutes worth of breathing mindfulness meditation, just to get the mind focused on the breath and start breathing in and out through the nose and focusing the mind on the breath. Then after we do that period of time where it's a bit quiet, I'm going to come back in with some guidance on loving kindness meditation. You're going to hear me saying these affirmations. I'm going to be saying them out loud, like, may I be peaceful. And I'm doing that on the out breath. And then I'm going to breathe in, may I be safe. And then I'm going to breathe in, and then on the out breath, may I be well. And then I'm going to breathe in, and then on the out breath, may I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. So I'm going to be saying this out loud. And when you hear it, you can just repeat it within your own mind, right? Because you're in your own practice. If I was doing this by myself, I wouldn't say it out loud because there's no need to. But in a session where I'm guiding students, I'm going to say it out loud so the students can practice and hear that and then do the same thing. And what we do is we always start with I, meaning this being who you are. Then we're going to go through these successive wider and wider rings where we're going to make these different rings. You might hear me talk about mom and dad or family members, or I'm going to do these very general rings that apply to all of us. But then ultimately, I'm going to get to all beings where we haven't left anybody out. Normally, you'd like to include a few people who you currently have loving kindness for. Then you would like to include some people you're maybe more neutral about, maybe like your neighbors, your coworkers. You don't hate them, but you don't necessarily have love for them either. You would like to include some of those people that you're more neutral about. And then ultimately, you would like to get to some individuals that you do have anger and hatred for. So for me, I'm doing something very general and very broad that applies to all of us. But when you do this on your own, you would like to include specific individuals. So it might be, may Bob be peaceful. Maybe Bob is somebody who you've had a fight with recently, or maybe there's a 5-year history of you and Bob or Barbara or Susie or whoever having this difficult relationship. And what you're looking to do is include them into your meditation. This meditation isn't to try to change Bob or Barbara or Susie. You're not trying to change other people through your meditation. What you're doing is transforming your mind so that now you can be more loving and kind. You're essentially rewiring the mind with these affirmations, that you're not going down this path of anger and hatred anymore, but you're going down this path of loving kindness, this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And now when you cultivate your mind this way, when you're around that person, you can be more loving and kind. So if you have anybody in your life that you currently have anger, hatred, and ill will for, you would like to uproot that. And it's this meditation that's going to help you to do that. And even if there's people that are long in your past and you'll never even see them again, but you're still holding on to anger or resentment or hostility or animosity, you're going to need to uproot that out of the mind in order to experience this liberation and this peace and this joy. These people could actually be dead. You're never going to see them again. But if your mind is still holding on to any of this anger, hatred, or ill will, you're going to need to uproot it. So it's loving kindness meditation that's going to help you to accomplish that goal. So you would like to include these people into your meditation, not because you're trying to change them, but because you're trying to change your mind, so that now as you do this meditation and you're around that person, you can be more loving and kind with them. So sometimes I tell students this story about my life, that when I was growing up, I had a lot of hostility for my mom, a lot of resentment towards my mom for many things that happened during my childhood. And all through my childhood, we had all kinds of problems. Even in my early adulthood, we had all kinds of difficulties. If my mom and I got into a room, it was only a matter of time before fireworks started going off. She would pick up the rubber ball of anger and hatred and bitterness and throw it around. I would pick it up and throw it around. She would pick it up and throw it around. Next thing you know, we've got all these rubber balls of anger and hatred bouncing around the room. Well, eventually, as I started learning these teachings, I started doing loving kindness meditation. And now as I was doing this loving kindness meditation, I would always include mom into my meditation. And what I noticed is it gradually wore away, this anger, this bitterness, this hostility, this resentment. And now when I was around mom, I started being more loving and more kind, that now I could be more friendly, more polite, more respectful. Mom was still being bitter and harsh in some situations, but I wasn't. I was doing something different. One of the ways you can think about your relationships is certain relationships that you have, it's almost like a log jam where you guys are having so many difficulties, everything's just jammed up. And what you need to do is you need to take out these logs. And as you take out these logs of anger and hatred and bitterness and hostility, the logs start to flow. Your relationship starts to flow. So when I took out the anger and the hatred and the bitterness out of my mind, then when mom was being bitter and hostile with me, I no longer did that. I would turn away from that. I would walk away from it. And slowly but surely, she could see that she was being bitter and harsh and hostile. Sometimes people think that if they hold on to their anger and their bitterness and their resentment, that it's a way to get back at the other person. But this is like holding on to a hot coal and trying to burn somebody else. The only person that's getting burned is you. The other person isn't getting burned. It's only you. So holding on to your anger and bitterness and hostility is only harming yourself. So this meditation is designed to help you uproot that. And now when you're around that person, you can be more loving and more kind and more friendly, and you can develop a better relationship. It's just going to take you time to gradually wear this away through your meditation. The Buddha gives an analogy about this pollution and all the pollutions in the mind. He shares that you're not going to know each day how much you wear away, but when it's completely gone, you'll know that. So for example, if you had a digging tool that had a wooden handle on it, and you were digging with this tool every day, each day you're wearing away the wood on the handle of this tool, but you don't know how much. You're just wearing it away as you use it each day. But when this handle is completely exhausted and you need to replace the handle, you'll know that because the handle's completely exhausted. The same thing is true about your anger and all these other fetters and pollutions in the mind. Each day, as you're implementing the teachings of the Buddha, you're wearing away a little bit of the pollution each day, but you don't know how much. But when it's completely gone, you'll know that. And the reason why is because it'll be 6 months and you haven't been angry with anybody. You haven't been frustrated, irritated, or annoyed. It'll be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you haven't been angry, you haven't been frustrated, you haven't been irritated, you haven't been annoyed. You don't even have the slightest dislike towards other people. And this is how you'll know that this fetter has been eliminated. So you won't know each day as you're meditating how much of this you're wearing away, but you'll know when it's completely gone and when it's completely exhausted. You'll see slow incremental improvements in the condition of your mind. Like I noticed with my mom, I was being more friendly and loving and kind with her, and our relationship drastically improved, but I still had anger in other parts of my life, right? So you'll see these incremental improvements, but you won't know how much each day is being worn away. But when it's completely gone, you'll know that because it'll be 6 months, a year, 2 years that you haven't experienced any anger towards any being. So we're going to start with the chanting. We're going to go into the breathing mindfulness meditation. It'll be quiet for a period of time. Then I'm going to come back in with the guidance on loving kindness meditation. Then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness meditation just for a little bit of time. Then we're going to come out with some chanting. The way that I think about it is like a loving kindness sandwich. In the middle, you got loving kindness, right? And then the lettuce and tomato on the sides, that's the breathing mindfulness meditation. And then the bread that's holding it all together, that's the chanting. It's how holding the whole meditation together. Okay, so this is what we're going to be focusing on throughout this course, is to help you guys to develop your loving kindness meditation. So we'll be doing it this way in the mornings and in the afternoons. I'll be guiding you in this loving kindness meditation, doing the same structure. But then when you do this on your own, you would like to customize it. And your meditation is going to potentially change. When I first started with this, I was doing, may I be peaceful, may I be safe, may I be well, may I be free of discontentedness. And I would do it again and again, just for me, because I had a lot of negative self-talk in my mind, kind of this inner dialogue that was diminishing and degrading. So if you have that, this meditation is going to help you wear that away. So I would do a ring for myself, like maybe 2 or 3 times. Then I would go to my mom because I had a lot of difficulties with my mom. I would do my mom 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then I would do all beings. And then over time, about 6 months into it, I noticed that I'd worn away the anger from my mom. So then I would include other people. One time I had a landlord of the business that I worked at, the business that I owned. The landlord came in and threatened to kill me in front of my employees, in front of my customers, in front of everybody that was in our business. He got right up in my face and threatened to kill me. So I just stayed quiet. I just said, that's interesting, or whatever I said. And then I included him in the meditation for a few days. Every once in a while, I would be on my way to work. Somebody would cut me off in traffic. If I noticed any frustration arising or any irritation, I would include them. I didn't even meet them. I didn't even know who they were. I would just say, may that driver that cut me off be peaceful. Right? This is a way for you to rewire your mind. If you have brothers or sisters or friends or family members, you would need to put them in your meditation and use their name so that then your mind can gradually transition to no longer having this mind wired with this anger and this bitterness. Because as we were talking about yesterday, when you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, if somebody does something you agree with, you'll get happy, you'll get excited, you'll get elated. But then if somebody does something you disagree with, you'll get angry and upset and bitter and harsh. But that's just impermanence. Of course somebody's doing something different than you, because not everybody's going to do things the same way as you. So if every time somebody does something different than you, if you go down this path of anger and bitterness and hostility, that's a well-worn path that leads to broken relationships. And you would like to forge this new path. You'd like to get your machete out and break down the bushes and the stickers and the branches and create this new path for yourself, where now you can train the mind to have this loving kindness, this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, this active goodwill. And then over time, this path of anger and hostility gets overgrown, and it'll be impossible for your mind to go down that path. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't be able to go down the path of anger. There just won't be any anger that arises. You might look to that direction and you just know, like, nope, no reason to go down there. That path is overgrown. I've got this nice new path of loving kindness to go down now. I'm just going to go down that path. And eventually you won't even look down that path, the old path, anymore, because you just know that there's no reason to go down there, because it just leads to broken relationships. So more and more you forge this new path of loving kindness. And this is just rewiring the mind through your meditation, yes, but then you need to practice the Eightfold Path with right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, where you're practicing loving kindness through your moral conduct. That's what's going to ultimately transform your mind. You can't just meditate your way to eliminating your anger. You're going to need to go out in the world and practice your loving kindness through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. This is what's going to fully transform your mind. So the meditation is there almost like filling up your gas tank. And as you fill up your gas tank, then you go out into the world and you practice loving kindness. So out of your 2 or 3 meditation sessions that you might be building up to over the course of your life, if you do the morning meditation as loving kindness, this is really helpful, because now you go out into the world with loving kindness. Doesn't mean you can't do it in the evening or you can't do it in the middle of the day or something like that. But if you choose to do loving kindness in the morning, you'll notice that it has a lot of effect, because now when you go out into the world, you'll be more loving and more kind as you interact with others. So any questions on loving kindness or loving kindness meditation, or how we're going to do this meditation? No? Okay. So let's do a meditation session together. I'll guide you guys as I shared. Those of you guys online, you're welcome to join as well. I'm going to start with chanting, and I've got the laminated sheets over there on the table that you guys are welcome to get if you'd like to do the chanting together. Then I will guide you in breathing mindfulness meditation. Then there'll be a period of time where it'll be quiet. Then I'll come back in with guidance on loving kindness meditation. And then I'll finish up with breathing mindfulness meditation for a short bit and some more chanting. So make yourself comfortable, either in the seated, lying, or standing positions. We usually don't do loving kindness meditation in the walking position. It doesn't usually work so well in the walking position. Oh, I'm fine. I don't need one. What's that? Oh, okay. No, I was trying to turn off the fan. Okay, so make yourself comfortable either in the seated, lying, or standing position, and then we'll start with the chanting. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang สัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสานามาสติสัตตาตาวาปมานุสนังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that the mind moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thoughts, label them, judge them, analyze them, or even try to figure out where they're coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Whenever you get to your next out breath, repeat these affirmations in the mind. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May my friends and family be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those who have caused me harm be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาโหตังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมดามังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโพโตภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, I'll just share a few things with you guys as we finish up this topic of loving kindness meditation. Is keep in mind that this meditation is to transform your mind, right? You're not sending loving kindness to others, trying to change other people. You're transforming your mind. So it's not like a prayer, like you're wishing for someone to be better. You're changing your mind. You're rewiring your mind so that now you can be more loving and kind when you're around people, when you go out into the world. The other thing is you heard me do this affirmation in the meditation where we were talking about, may all those who have caused me harm be peaceful, right? Caused me harm, right? You guys heard me yesterday when I was teaching the Four Noble Truths saying other people can't cause you to be discontent. Other people can cause you harm, but they can't cause you to be discontent. I'll give you an example. Someone could steal your car. That's causing you harm, right? Because now you can't go to work, you can't take your children to school, you can't go shopping and collect the supplies you need in order to live life and have the basic necessities to live life. This person who's stolen your car, they've caused you harm because now you don't have the ability to go to the store and go to school, go to work, and these kinds of things. But they can't cause you discontentedness. If your mind's discontent, meaning angry, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, any of those other discontent feelings, that's the mind having craving, desire, attachment, wanting things to be permanent. So this person hasn't caused your discontentedness. They've caused you harm. There's a difference between harm and discontentedness. Harm is the injury. If somebody injures this physical body, your material possessions, the things that you have in life, they've injured you, right? They've caused you harm, but they haven't caused your discontentedness, right? So this is why the Buddha teaches not to steal, right? Because when you injure somebody and you cause harm to others, this harm will come back to you. And now you've created an environment in which somebody's attachment can get triggered. So the Buddha is not only teaching you how to get to this peace and joy, he's teaching you how to navigate the world with all these unenlightened beings. Because if there's an unenlightened being and you stole from them, not only have you caused them harm, but now their craving, desire, attachment is being triggered. They're having painful feelings, and now they're going to want to cause harm to somebody because they think the problem is external, right? They don't realize that the discontentedness they're having is being caused by their own craving, desire, attachment. So it's unwise to steal because you're causing harm, you're injuring people. And it would be based on your own craving if you were stealing from other people. But now having stolen from somebody, caused that person harm, they're going to now want to cause you harm, right? So other people can cause you harm, but they can't cause you to be discontent. So if somebody steals your car, and you can remain peaceful, you can remain joyful. I went on a trip a year and a half ago. Somebody stole money from me, right? And then when they stole money from me, you can see, you can maintain your peacefulness and your joy, even though they stole money from you. The Buddha teaches there's 5 things that are unobtainable by anybody, by any enlightened being or any person in the world. You can't attain permanent health. You can't attain permanent youthfulness. You can't attain permanent life. You can't attain things where they permanently aren't destroyed, and you can't attain things that permanently aren't lost. So you're going to experience sickness, aging, and death. You're absolutely going to experience that. You're going to experience certain things are destroyed in your life. You can't maintain your material possessions permanently, and you're going to lose things. This is all the universal truth of impermanence. So no matter how enlightened you are, these things are still going to occur. If your mind doesn't have craving, desire, attachment, you won't be discontent when these things are occurring. When you're sick, when you're aging, when you're dying, when you experience destruction of your material possessions, when you experience loss, you won't be discontent. Now, of course, you can make wise decisions to maintain your health. You can make wise decisions to appear to maintain your youthfulness. You can make wise decisions to delay your death for as long as possible. You can make wise decisions to ensure that the things that you have don't get easily destroyed. You can make wise decisions to ensure you're not losing things, but these things are going to occur. You can't avoid these kinds of things. So the Buddha refers to these 5 things as the unobtainable, that you can't obtain permanent health, youthfulness, life, permanent non-destruction of items, or permanent non-loss of items. So you will experience these things, and people might cause you harm throughout your life, right? They might try to cause you harm. There was a period in time in the Buddha's life where there were 2 different individuals that were trying to kill him. His cousin was trying to kill him, and then there was this murderer who was trying to kill him. There was a person who had killed 999 people, and he was running after the Buddha with a sword trying to kill him. And the Buddha just remained calm. And this person was yelling at the Buddha because the Buddha was walking forward, and he was saying, "Stop, stop, stop." And the Buddha just kept walking and walking and walking, and he's chasing after the Buddha with a sword. And he says, "Stop, stop, stop." And then finally, after this goes on for a while, the Buddha stops. He turns around and he says, "I have stopped. It's you that hasn't stopped. I've stopped killing. I stopped stealing. I stopped having sexual misconduct. I stopped lying, and I stopped taking substances that cause heedlessness. It's you that hasn't stopped." And then this person was very, taken by that and asked the Buddha if he could be a student. And the Buddha says, "Sure, you can come learn with me." And this person has 999 fingers of the people that he had killed on a necklace around his neck. And the Buddha knew that he was a murderer because people told him that he was a murderer. And he said, "Sure, you can come be a student. Come learn with me." And then he shaved off his hair, he put on a robe, and he ended up being a student of the Buddha. And he ultimately got to enlightenment during that lifetime. So this is a good story to illustrate to you that, yes, it's wise to stop these 5 things, but also it's a good story to show you that no matter what you've done in your past, you can still get to enlightenment. It doesn't matter. Whatever you've done in the past is in the past. You can still get to enlightenment. I know that none of you guys have murdered 999 people. I'm sure of that. So no matter what you've done in the past, whether you've drank alcohol, whether you've lied, whether you've done other, harmful things in the world, you can still get to enlightenment in this life. It's a matter of learning, practicing, being dedicated, determined, and diligent. And this loving kindness meditation is one of the things that will help you. Because that murderer who was chasing after the Buddha, he was quite angry. He wanted to kill the Buddha. He had a craving to kill the Buddha, but he wasn't able to because the Buddha just remained calm. The Buddha didn't hurt him, right? The Buddha didn't cause any harm to this individual, so no harm came to the Buddha as a result. But they tried. He was trying to get to the Buddha and trying to kill him, right? So what questions do you guys have on loving kindness or loving kindness meditation or anything that I was sharing this morning about this talk and the meditation itself? Anything you guys would like to ask? Here at the temple, you guys are welcome to ask questions. And today we're live streaming, so anybody on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, if you would like to ask questions, you can put that into the comment section. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions that you like. No questions here at the temple? Okay. Let's see. I don't have any questions online either. So it's about 10 minutes after 10. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here, give you guys a nice little break, about 20-minute break, come back at 10:30, and we're going to pick it up with a talk on identifying your cravings, analysis of the mind, teaching you how to identify your cravings so that then you can actually eliminate them. That's going to be key to eliminating all your discontentedness. This is one of the most important skills you can develop, is to be able to identify your own cravings and then be able to put a plan in place to almost go in and surgically remove them. The breathing mindfulness meditation and the generosity is general training to train the mind to let go of these things, but then there's ways to surgically go in and actually eliminate these. So I'm going to teach you how to do this when we come back from break. So enjoy your break. I'll see you guys at 10:30. Okay? Be well. Okay. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.